Just had my birthday weekend. My wife Celeste and I got to spend 3 whole days together, and that was just an absolutely beautiful experience. And our Friday flash mob for Play Chi Ball was really successful. We had a big beach party, and lots of strangers showed up who became friends by the end of the day. We sold lots of balls. We closed our first wholesale deal on my birthday. It was a good birthday. And it feels like, and my mantra these days, anytime I go into what's next in my mind, I just keep reminding myself that this is the happy new now. That's been my mantra for the last little while. Anytime I dip into a stress response to anything that's happening in my reality or any of the things that I have to do to prepare, I just remind myself this is the happy new now, and I can feel my nervous system immediately just like being more at ease. So I've got a very big meeting tomorrow, Wednesday. We have the first big company interested in acquiring or partnering with Magic Kids. This is a really huge meeting. They've gone through the deal room. They've booked an hour tomorrow with the CEO, the VP of sales, and an outside consultant that does the kind of strategic partnerships that we're looking to do, acquisition partnerships. And so over the weekend, Celeste and I spent a lot of time just dreaming into what's on the other side of the sale of the company, what roles I want to play, what I don't want to do, what that feeling of real opulence and abundance will feel like on the other side of this. It's been a 20-year climb for me, and what the energy of financial freedom feels like, what life will look like on the other side of this. And that was really expansive. And as we went into the expansion state, we did another ritual because as we expand, anything that is needing to compost or that's out of alignment with the expansive state is naturally going to just bring fears to the surface. And so we did a massive purging ceremony around just letting go of the fears that were present, just giving voice to them around, well, what if the company that we partner with ends up just being sharks and they take everything that we've built and they just destroy it and burn it to the ground because that's just what they want to do? Or what would happen if, nobody wants to buy? What would happen if this is a complete and total mistake and we're going to regret it? And there was just like it was like the more I just vocalized all these things, it was like unraveling a ball of yarn that was sitting in the bottom of my stomach around all of these kind of deep-seated fears that I wasn't really aware of in the excitement of everything that's been happening over the last 6 to 8 weeks and the expansion that I was feeling taking place. And it just felt really healthy and natural to give voice to these things so that if any red flags show up throughout the negotiation process, I'm now more aware of like what these underlying fears are. I saw them, I voiced them, I gave them a space to be heard so that they don't have any power over me and my own energy anymore. And they also, the beautiful thing about contrast and giving voice to these fears is they also created more space for the clarity of like what we really, really do want, what we are looking for, the type of strategic partnership we want, whoever we pass the torch to really honor what it is that we've created and the foundation from which it was built and the seeds that we've sprinkled around the origins and the intentions of what Magic Kids is and what it's meant for and who it's meant for and the honoring of artists and the honoring of families and uniting families again and creating values aligned entertainment in the audio space for children and the best music library and tools for children to really sink into their nervous system and be able to self-regulate themselves. And so it was just a really beautiful process. And I felt a lot shift inside of myself as we go into this meeting tomorrow. And, I have no attachments to what it's gonna be, but it feels exciting to be now taking the next steps towards that. And we've done a lot of work, my team and I, to be prepared for it. And that's exciting. All you can do is prepare your best and show up to the moment and see if it's either in alignment or out of alignment. And if it's out of alignment, we carry on. And And if it's in alignment, well, then that's an exciting, we'll figure out the next step thing. So right now, I just want to take probably about 5 minutes and for you to sink into the dreaming space. And as you really open your heart to what it is that you're dreaming into for your life, for your work, for your business, for the gifts that you're bringing into the world. And as you imagine the top of that mountain, because for me, it feels like I've crested the top of the mountain. I'm now walking through the snow caps, and it's like we're right there. And it's a pretty incredible feeling after all these years of, ascending to the top. And so as you imagine that for yourself, getting to the top of the mountain and what that would look like and feel like, and what would change in your lifestyle, and what would change in your bank account, what would change in how you look in the mirror at yourself and your confidence and your self-esteem and your feeling of accomplishment and your, complete and total permission slip to withdraw, to step in, to do whatever the hell you want to do because you can, and there's the resources to fully activate all of your gifts and all of your dreams. And so as you imagine that, just take a few minutes to write down some of the visions, the glimmers of what will shift for you when you arrive at the top of the mountain, because I can guarantee if you just keep going, you get there. And so what are some of those pieces that you're dreaming into, the expansiveness that you're opening yourself to as you go through this transformational process of bringing your gifts to the world? So take about 3 minutes and just see what comes through with that. All right. So with the expansion can oftentimes come the contraction, the what ifs. Well, what if this happens? What if this doesn't work out? What if they perceive it this way? What if I haven't got it right? What if I'm taking the wrong route? What if blah, blah, blah? All the what ifs. What if they destroy my business when I sell? What if, they become sharks? What if they try and jip me? What if I don't get what I deserve for this sale, etc.? All the fears that can naturally surface once we've chosen to embody a more expansive state than the current one that we're in. And so now just take a few minutes and like feel into the deeper part of your belly. And it was really interesting when we went into this ritual to do the expansion and the retraction. Is like I felt like my stomach literally got bloated as we went into the retraction state of like just all of this, there's all this gurgling and swirling as like I acknowledge the fears and let them come out. And so as you go through the process right now, we'll take about 4 minutes now and just write down any of those back of your mind fears that might play over like a broken record. We're just going to give them space to be heard, to be seen, to be acknowledged. Doesn't mean writing them down gives them power. It actually helps to diminish their power because you can see them outside of yourself and no longer are they playing in the background and we can actually do something about it. And so take about 4 minutes and write down any of those fears that might be beneath the surface about the path that you're walking and the vision that you're moving towards. And then we'll circle back. All right, now for the last piece, because in seeing contrast, we allow space for clarity. Chances are, all those fears that you may have just wrote down, those are things you don't want to happen. And so, if you can just look at each of those and ask yourself, well, if it's not that, then what do I want? And it might be something that is close to the opposite of what it is. So, for example, with Magic Kids, as the fears came up, it was like, well, I don't want them to just buy what we built and completely destroy it, change the name, make it a completely different thing than when we set out to create. What I do want is I want them to honor the origin story, the vision, and what we've created and the assets that we've built, and to expand upon it and allow it to evolve into its full expression. So that was the clarity that I found from voicing those fears and giving them name. And now I can go into the conversation tomorrow, and it's like, this is one of the things that are really strong and important and integral for this partnership to work for me. If you're taking the torch, you need to honor what we've started, and you need to honor it and carry that torch with you as this thing evolves and expands. I don't want you to completely change everything about what we've built. So, for you, as you look at some of the fears that you've given voice to, go through each one and ask yourself, well, if it's not this, then what do I want? And then you have more clarity about what you're stepping forward into. So, take a few minutes to do that next. All right. So, hopefully, this has been helpful in pulling some things to the surface. Now, the next phase is something you can do on your own time away from here, which is more of like the ritual piece of this, whether it's writing all these pieces down on a piece of paper or doing a burning ceremony, a burying ceremony, like putting one way that I've done this before is like putting the paper in the earth, burying it with a crystal, planting a flower over top of it to allow the beauty to blossom. It could be burning it in a fire and just intentionally letting that go. There's plenty of ways to do the letting go process and just like really vocalizing out loud what it is that you are claiming for yourself and for this work, this vision, this life that you're choosing for yourself and letting yourself boldly dream. And anytime these fears do surface or you hear that broken record playing in the back of your mind, just write these things down, take your power back, let it go. So that'll be the next part of to complete this is later today. I encourage you to go close out the ritual in some way, shape, or form to bury or burn the pieces that are out of alignment with what you're creating and to vocalize the pieces that you are claiming. And hopefully this has been helpful and inspiring, revealed some things, and that you can more confidently take the next steps up the mountain.